A single dad, a deaf girl accused of stealing, a moment of courage in a crowded store. Malcolm Torres had no idea that standing up for a stranger in a faded red dress would unlock a secret that would change his struggling life forever. Because the frightened young woman wasn't who she seemed, and her ailing father in the old rusted car, he was hiding a truth that would turn Malcolm's world upside down. This is the story of how one act of decency revealed that sometimes the people who look like they have nothing are the ones who can give you everything. The fluorescent lights of Save Mart grocery store buzzed overhead as a woman's voice shattered the ordinary Saturday afternoon. "I saw her. She put something in her pocket. I saw it with my own eyes." Malcolm Torres abandoned his past-to-price comparison and moved toward the commotion, his 7-year-old daughter Sophie following close behind. Their weekly grocery routine, careful budgeting, followed by splitting one chocolate chip cookie, had just been interrupted by something that would change everything. At the store's exit, a crowd had formed around a young woman in a faded red dress. The dress had clearly seen years of wear, frayed hem, color softened from countless washings, but it was clean and pressed. The young woman's dark hair was pulled back neatly, and her eyes darted in terror between the store manager and a middle-aged woman whose finger pointed at her like a weapon. "She's a thief! I watched her take candy and shove it in her pocket." Mr. Hendricks, the nervous store manager, held up placating hands. "Ma'am, please stay calm. Miss, I need you to empty your pockets." The young woman's hands moved rapidly, forming shapes in the air. Sign language. She was deaf. She signed frantically, desperately trying to communicate, but neither the manager nor her accuser understood. "Oh, please, don't fall for that act," the woman scoffed. "I know what I saw. Call the police." Malcolm felt something ancient and familiar rising in him. His younger brother, Anthony, was deaf. Malcolm had grown up translating, standing between his brother and a world that too often mistook difference for deficiency. He pushed through the crowd. "I can help. I know sign language." Relief flooded Mr. Hendricks's face. "Thank goodness. Can you talk to her?" Malcolm approached the young woman slowly, his hands rising with practiced fluency. "Hi, my name is Malcolm. What's your name?" Her eyes widened in surprise and overwhelming relief. "Stella. Stella, that's beautiful. Can you tell me what happened?" Through rapid signs, Stella explained. She'd been shopping for her sick father waiting in the car. She had a list and exact money. She'd been looking at candy for him, but hadn't taken anything. She showed Malcolm her empty pockets, turning them inside out. Malcolm faced the accuser. "She says she didn't take anything. Her pockets are empty." "She probably already ate it or threw it somewhere," the woman insisted. "She was acting suspicious." Like someone who can't hear trying to navigate a crowded store? Malcolm's voice was calm but carried steel. "Did you actually see her take something, or did you assume?" The woman's face flushed. "She looked like she was going to." "So you didn't actually see her take anything?" Malcolm turned to Mr. Hendricks. "Has anyone checked the candy aisle? If something's missing, there should be evidence." The manager sent a stock clerk to investigate. The minutes stretched. Stella stood close to Malcolm now, clutching her dress, trembling slightly. Malcolm signed to her, "It's going to be okay, I promise." Sophie had appeared at her father's side, giving Stella a small, encouraging smile. "Daddy, her dress is pretty, like strawberries." The clerk returned. "Nothing missing, sir. All accounted for." Heavy silence fell. Malcolm's voice was quiet but penetrating. That because she's a young woman in a worn dress who looks like she doesn't have much, she must be a thief? This young lady came here to help her sick father. Instead, she gets accused and humiliated, all because someone made assumptions. The accusing woman mumbled an apology and hurried away. Malcolm signed to Stella. "Do you have your shopping list and money?" She nodded, pulling out a carefully folded paper and small envelope. Malcolm handed them to Mr. Hendricks, who read aloud. "Bread, milk, eggs, soup, medicine, orange juice." He counted the money. Exact change, down to the penny. "Miss, I apologize," the manager said. "Please let us give you these groceries. No charge." When Malcolm translated, Stella's response was immediate and firm. Her hands moved decisively. "She says thank you, but no. Her father taught her to always pay her own way. She has the money and wants to pay." There was power in that moment. This young woman, just accused and humiliated, refusing charity, insisting on dignity. Malcolm helped Stella gather her items while Sophie tried to make her smile. At checkout, Stella counted out her money with precision, choosing the cheapest option for everything. "Where's your father?" Malcolm signed. "Parking lot, old blue car, too weak to come inside. Let me help you carry these." Outside, golden afternoon light spilled across the lot. Stella led them to a weathered sedan, faded paint, duct-taped mirror, rust spots blooming. But the interior was immaculate. A gaunt man in his late 50s emerged slowly, moving with obvious effort. Simple, mended clothes, worn shoes. But when he saw Stella safe, his eyes filled with light. His hands moved rapidly, checking on his daughter. She signed back, telling him everything. As she described Malcolm's intervention, the man's eyes shifted to Malcolm with intense gratitude. "Thank you for helping my daughter," he signed. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there. I'm Christopher." "I'm Malcolm. This is Sophie. I have a deaf brother. I know what it's like when nobody understands." "Stella is my whole world," Stella signed. "I've been sick, pneumonia, still very weak. I sent her alone, and she—" his hands trembled. "She shouldn't have faced that alone." "She wasn't alone once I saw what was happening." Christopher studied Malcolm, his worn work boots, simple t-shirt, the protective way he held Sophie's hand. Something shifted in his expression. "You stood up for a complete stranger," Christopher signed. "That's rare." Through their conversation, Malcolm learned Christopher had been raising Stella alone for 8 years, since his wife left when Stella lost her hearing to meningitis at 14. Stella had been studying nursing but dropped out to care for Christopher when he got sick. Malcolm shared his own story. His wife Caroline's death 3 years ago, the medical bills that depleted everything, his maintenance job at the community college, the constant struggle to provide for Sophie. 2 single fathers, 2 daughters, 2 lives defined by loss and resilience. "Malcolm, I'd like to do something for you," Christopher signed, "to thank you properly. May I have your contact information? When I'm feeling better, there's something important I need to discuss with you." Something in Christopher's expression suggested weight beyond gratitude. Malcolm hesitated but shared his number. Stella touched Malcolm's arm gently. "Thank you. You gave me back my voice today. You saw me as a person." Sophie hugged Stella's leg spontaneously. The young woman looked touched, gently returning the embrace. As Malcolm and Sophie walked to their car, Sophie said proudly, "You stood up for her, Daddy. That was brave." Sometimes being brave just means being kind when it's easier not to be. That evening, as Malcolm tucked Sophie into bed, his phone buzzed. A text from Christopher. "What you did for Stella meant everything. She came home and cried, happy tears. Said you made her feel seen. I hope we can meet soon. There's something important I need to discuss with you, something that might change your life. Please, when I'm feeling better, will you meet with me?" Malcolm stared at the message, puzzled. He replied, agreeing to coffee. Another message. "Thank you, Malcolm. You're a good man. You work at the community college as maintenance?" "Yes, been there 5 years. Hard work, honest work. You should be proud. I'll be in touch soon." Malcolm settled into his evening routine, packing Sophie's lunch, reviewing bills. The rent was due in 5 days, and he was short by nearly $200. He'd have to pick up extra hours. But as he sat there, he could still see Stella standing tall in that faded red dress despite her fear. Something about her dignity stayed with him. Malcolm couldn't have known that the man in the old blue sedan carried secrets that would soon upend everything. He couldn't have known that his simple act of decency would set in motion events that would change his and Sophie's lives forever. The following Tuesday, another text arrived. "Malcolm, this is Christopher. Feeling stronger. Would you be available this Saturday? There's a cafe near the college, Riverside Coffee on Main Street. Just an hour of your time. What I have to tell you is important. Life-changing. Please come with an open mind." Life-changing. The phrase stirred both hope and unease in Malcolm. "I'll be there," he confirmed. Saturday arrived. Malcolm dropped Sophie at a friend's house and headed to Riverside Coffee, a place he passed countless times but never entered. Coffee shops were a luxury he couldn't justify. Christopher was already there, looking healthier than before. Same mended shirt, same resoled shoes, but carrying himself with quiet confidence. After ordering, Christopher paying with exact change from a worn wallet, they sat at a corner table. "I need to tell you something," Christopher signed, "and I need you to listen with an open mind." Malcolm nodded, heart racing. "The car you saw us driving? The old clothes? The modest apartment where we live?" Christopher paused. "None of it is necessary." Confusion crossed Malcolm's face. "Malcolm, I'm not poor. I'm not struggling." Christopher's hands moved deliberately. "I own 17 commercial properties across this state, 3 apartment complexes, a chain of hardware stores, several other businesses." Malcolm's hands froze. He stared, certain he'd misunderstood. "You're wealthy?" "Very wealthy." The cafe tilted. Why would you—" "When my wife left, when she abandoned Stella because our daughter became deaf, something in me broke," Christopher signed. "I'd built my businesses, achieved what society calls success. But when Stella needed her mother most, my wife left because she was embarrassed. I realized all my money hadn't taught me the most important thing, how to recognize genuine human goodness." His hands moved heavily. "So I made a decision. I put on old clothes, drove an old car, lived simply, and I watched how people treated us when they thought we had nothing. For 8 years, Malcolm, 8 years of being invisible, dismissed, sometimes mocked. Do you know how many people helped us in all that time? How many stood up for Stella the way you did?" Malcolm shook his head. 3. In 8 years, 3 people. Christopher's eyes were intense. "You were the third. You saw my daughter being accused and frightened and didn't hesitate, didn't calculate what it might cost you, just acted." "Anyone would have." "No, that's what I'm telling you. They didn't. 20 people walked past before you stepped in. 20 people who saw and chose not to get involved." Christopher leaned forward. "You didn't know us, gained nothing by helping. You just saw someone who needed help and gave it. And when it was over, you were humble. You saw us as equals, not charity cases." "Because you are equals," Malcolm signed automatically. "Exactly. That's what I've been searching for. Someone who understands that truth in their bones." Christopher pulled out a paper, unfolding it on the table. "I want to offer you a job. Property manager for my commercial properties. Someone to oversee maintenance and operations." Malcolm looked at the job offer letter. His eyes scanned to the salary line. $85,000 annually. Full medical benefits, performance bonuses. His current salary was $32,000. "This can't be real." Malcolm's hands shook. "It's very real. You'd start with training, 2 months of learning the properties, systems, business. You'd have support staff. And Malcolm, this is just the beginning. If you prove yourself, which I believe you will, there's room for growth." Malcolm felt tears prickling. "Christopher, this is too much. You don't even know me." "I know you stood up for my daughter when no one else would. I know you raised your daughter to be kind despite losing her mother. I know you work hard and treat people with respect." Christopher's signs were gentle. "I've been looking for someone like you for years, someone worthy of trust, someone who won't let power corrupt them." "What if I fail?" "Then we'll figure it out together. But Malcolm, I've been in business 30 years. I know how to read people. You won't fail." Malcolm thought of Stella, insisting on paying her own way, dignity in the face of charity. Why the test? Why pretend to be poor for 8 years? Christopher's expression grew distant. "Because I needed to know that humanity still existed, that kindness wasn't dead. After my wife left, after seeing how people treated Stella when she was deaf, I lost faith. I needed proof that good people still existed, people who help without expecting reward." He continued, "And I needed to teach Stella that wealth doesn't make you better than anyone, that appearances don't determine worth, that dignity and character matter more than money." Malcolm felt something shift in his chest. He understood completely. "I need to talk to Sophie. This affects her too." "Of course. Take the weekend. Think about it. The offer stands regardless." Christopher reached across the table. "Malcolm, you gave my daughter back her belief that good people exist. That's worth more than any salary. This job is my way of saying thank you, but it's also selfish. I want someone like you in my organization, someone who'll treat my tenants and employees with the same dignity you showed Stella." They parted outside the cafe. Christopher handed Malcolm a business card. Christopher Hale, Hale Property Group. That evening, Malcolm sat at his kitchen table, the job offer spread before him. $85,000. The rent he couldn't pay, the extra hours he'd been planning, Sophie's future, Caroline's medical care that had bankrupted them. His phone showed Sophie's playdate message about staying for dinner. He had time to think. Malcolm thought about that moment in Save Mart, about choosing to step forward, about seeing Stella as a person deserving of dignity. "I was just being decent," he said to his empty apartment, but maybe that was exactly what Christopher had been searching for, someone who helped simply because it was right. Malcolm picked up his phone and looked at Christopher's contact. Hope. For the first time in 3 years, he felt real, tangible hope, all because he'd stood up for a stranger. Sometimes we're one decision away from everything changing, one moment of courage from a completely different life. Have you experienced a moment like that? Drop a comment and share your story. Sunday morning, Malcolm made Sophie her favorite breakfast, Mickey Mouse pancakes and bacon. "Sophie, remember Stella from the grocery store?" Sophie's face lit up. "The nice lady. Is she okay?" "She's very okay. Her dad offered me a new job. Better pay, enough that we wouldn't worry about bills." Sophie set down her fork, considering seriously. At 7, she understood more about their struggles than Malcolm wished. "Would you be happy?" she asked. The question hit him hard. "I think so. But what do you think?" "Daddy, you helped that lady because it was right. If her daddy wants to help us now, maybe that's okay too. Maybe that's how it works. People helping people." Out of the mouths of babes. That afternoon, Malcolm called Christopher. "I'd like to accept, if the offer still stands." Christopher's face blazed with joy on the video call. "It absolutely stands. Malcolm, you won't regret this." They worked out details. 2 weeks' notice at the college, training starting in 3 weeks. "One more thing," Christopher signed. "I'd like to set up a college fund for Sophie, my way of thanking her for being kind to Stella." Malcolm started to protest, but Christopher's hands cut firmly. "This is not negotiable." Sophie showed character too. She smiled at my daughter, complimented her, hugged her. Those acts meant everything to Stella. "Please." Malcolm thought of Caroline, of dreams that had seemed impossible. "Okay, thank you." The 2 weeks passed quickly. Malcolm's coworkers threw him a small party, genuinely happy for his good fortune. His supervisor shook his hand warmly. "You're a good man, Malcolm. You'll do well." On Malcolm's first day, Christopher picked him up in a modest SUV. "The old sedan's retired," he signed with a smile. "Its job is done." The Hale Property Group office was professional but not ostentatious. Christopher introduced Malcolm to a small staff, accountant, assistants, legal consultant. Everyone was professional, clearly well treated. "We run lean," Christopher explained. "Everyone here has purpose and knows they're valued." Over the following weeks, Malcolm absorbed everything. They visited properties together, apartments, hardware stores, commercial spaces. Everywhere, Christopher taught the same lesson. Treat people with dignity, always, regardless of what they can do for you. Malcolm saw it in action. Christopher spoke with the same respect to janitors as to lawyers, remembered employees' children's names, showed genuine interest in people's lives. "This is how you build loyalty," Christopher signed, "not with big salaries alone, but with basic human respect, with seeing people as people." 1 month in, Christopher invited Malcolm and Sophie to dinner at his real home. The house was beautiful, but not excessive, comfortable, filled with light. Stella greeted them wearing jeans and a sweater, hugging Sophie immediately. "Thank you for everything," Stella signed to Malcolm, "for that day, for seeing me, for being Dad's answer." Over dinner, warm and comfortable, Stella shared exciting news. She was returning to nursing school next month. "I never should have let you put your life on hold," Christopher sighed guiltily. "Dad, I chose it because you're worth it." Stella's hands were firm. "But now it's time to finish what I started." After dinner, on the back porch, Christopher signed to Malcolm. "How are you adjusting?" "It's overwhelming sometimes, the responsibility, the trust you're placing in me." "Your decisions this past month have only confirmed what I saw that first day." Christopher paused. "Malcolm, the salary is increasing. Starting next month, $95,000. In 6 months, if things continue, $110,000. Malcolm couldn't breathe. "You're worth it. You're already improving operations, treating staff better, catching problems others missed. That combination of detail and heart is priceless." Christopher's eyes were serious. "I'm building something here, proof that you can be successful and ethical. I need people like you to help prove it." I'll stay as long as you'll have me." They embraced, brief but weighted with meaning. Inside, Sophie's laughter rang out. Stella had let her win at their game. 3 months later, Malcolm stood in his new 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood with good schools, real kitchen, space for Sophie to play. Sophie had her own purple room with bookshelves and a desk. "Daddy, I love it here," she spun in circles. "Is this really ours?" "Really ours, sweetheart." "Because you helped Stella?" Malcolm knelt to her level. "Because I did what was right, and sometimes when you do what's right, good things happen. Not always, and we shouldn't do right things just for rewards, but sometimes." "Like a ripple," Sophie said wisely. "You drop one stone and the ripples go everywhere." Exactly like that. That evening, Stella texted, "Thank you for helping my dad believe in people again. You gave him peace." Malcolm replied, "He gave us a future. We're even." "No, you gave us hope first. That's worth more." Malcolm sat on his new couch, watching Sophie arrange stuffed animals. He thought about that Saturday in Save Mart, about choosing to step forward. He thought about Caroline, wished she could see them now. "I think you'd be proud," he whispered. The conference room overlooked the city. Malcolm still felt slightly out of place in business casual clothes, but he was adjusting. The quarterly report showed 15% increase in tenant satisfaction, 10% decrease in maintenance costs, 3 new acquisitions. Christopher presented to the board but kept gesturing to Malcolm. "This improvement is directly attributable to Malcolm Torres, our Director of Property Operations." After the meeting, board members congratulated Malcolm. He answered professionally, the way Christopher had coached. Later, in Christopher's office, Malcolm collapsed into a chair. "That was terrifying." Christopher laughed. "You did perfectly. They're impressed." "I still can't believe this is my life." "Believe it. You've earned every bit." Christopher leaned back. "Malcolm, in a year or 2, I want to semi-retire, travel with Stella, make up for lost time. I'll need someone to take over day-to-day operations." Malcolm's heart stopped. "Christopher, I can't." "Yes, you can. You're already doing it. Think about it. No pressure, but I trust you with everything I've built." That evening, Malcolm picked up Sophie from art class. She showed him a painting, 2 stick figures holding hands, one in a red dress. "It's me and Stella, because she's like family now, right?" Malcolm's throat tightened. "Yeah, like family." At dinner, a nice restaurant where Sophie could order anything, she asked seriously, "Daddy, do you think Mommy knows about everything?" "I think she does. I think she'd be really happy. I tell her at night when I pray about our apartment, my school, Stella and Mr. Christopher. I think she's happy we found them." Malcolm took his daughter's hand. "You're pretty special, you know that?" "I get it from you," Sophie grinned. That night, Stella texted, "Dad wanted me to tell you, Sophie's college fund hit $50,000 today. She's set for any school she wants." Malcolm's eyes burned. Another message, "I'm graduating nursing school next spring. I want you both there, front row. You're the reason I went back." "We'll be there." One more thing. "I'm volunteering at a deaf community center now, teaching sign language, helping others. Dad said I should pay forward what you gave us, so I am." The ripples, Malcolm thought. One stone, endless ripples. Save Mart looked exactly the same. Malcolm and Sophie walked through, meeting Christopher and Stella for joint grocery shopping and dinner. Passing aisle 7, Sophie tugged Malcolm's hand. "That's where it happened, right?" "That's right. One choice changed everything." "Yes, but every choice reveals who we are, and who we are matters more than any single outcome." Stella wore professional scrubs. She just started at the community hospital. But underneath, Malcolm glimpsed red fabric, the old dress, worn as a reminder. They shopped together, laughing through signs and words. Christopher looked vibrant now, recently returned from European travel with Stella. At checkout, Sophie paid for her candy bar with allowance. "My own money, because Daddy taught me it's important to pay your own way when you can." Malcolm's eyes met Christopher's. The older man nodded approval. In the parking lot, Christopher signed with a smile, "Remember the old sedan?" Every detail. "I donated it to help low-income families get transportation." Seemed fitting. Stella gave Malcolm a framed photograph from Sophie's birthday, all 4 of them smiling together. "To remember where it all started," she signed. "How could I forget? Not forget, remember and be grateful for." Driving home, Sophie hummed in the back seat. "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to help people like you helped Stella."
Malcolm glanced at her in the mirror. "You can be anything you want, sweetheart. I know, because you taught me how you treat people matters more than what you have." Malcolm's hands tightened on the wheel. "Sometimes you do the right thing and nothing good comes from it. You still do it anyway." "I know, but sometimes it does, and that's like a bonus."
As they pulled into their parking spot, Christopher texted, "Thank you for today, for every day, for being who you are. You and Sophie have given us hope and proof that we were right to keep believing." Malcolm typed back, "You gave us a future." The reply, "No, we gave each other what we needed most. That's what family does." Family. Malcolm looked at the photograph on the passenger seat. 4 people connected by choice, values, mutual respect. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home." "Home," Sophie repeated happily. "I love saying that." Walking toward their apartment, Sophie slipped her hand into Malcolm's. "Daddy, can we still split a cookie sometimes, even though we can afford to?" Malcolm's eyes burned. "Absolutely. Some traditions are too good to change." "Good. Because the best part was sharing it with you, not the cookie itself." Malcolm stopped and hugged his daughter tightly. "I love you so much." "Love you too, Daddy. Thank you for being brave that day." "I just did what was right." "I know," Sophie said with wise eyes. "That's why it mattered." They walked inside together, into the home built from a single act of kindness. Malcolm Torres had learned that kindness creates ripples, that dignity matters, that standing up for others is never wasted, that sometimes people who look like they have nothing can give you everything, and that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's built from courage, compassion, and the simple act of seeing another human being as worthy of respect. His life and his daughter's life, and the lives of 2 people he'd stood up for would never be the same, all because of one choice in a grocery store on an ordinary Saturday afternoon. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that one act of courage can change everything, please share it with someone who needs hope today. Have you ever stood up for someone? Has someone ever stood up for you? Drop your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what another person needs to hear. Remember, the next time you see someone being treated unfairly, you have a choice. You can walk away or you can step forward. That choice matters more than you know. Subscribe to Everhart Tales for more stories that prove kindness still exists, courage still matters, and sometimes, just sometimes, standing up for a stranger changes everything. Until next time, keep choosing kindness.